all use the same language. They all describe him as their friend. I mean, I don't know if Donald Trump has friends. I don't think that Vivek Ramaswamy is one of them, if he does have friends. And this is a display of sycophancy and a job interview, as you say, Chris. But it's also. It's also a serious thing, because what they're doing is they're showing up and attacking the judicial system, and there's more to say about that. But the initial just seeing them all show up together, dressed like a squad, to call him their dear friend when he doesn't know what any of their last names are. I just find it's sad. It's an interesting snapshot of the Republican Party.
It is a judicial ordeal, but at the same time, you got to keep in perspective that look at the human that they're doing this to. See, they don't mention that. They won't only want to emphasize upon the things that they want to emphasize upon. I found this particular show here very interesting in what they got to say. And before they get too much involved in this, I just want to say, as far as I'm concerned, America has been lax probably for at least the past 50 years in converting various laws and policies regarding how our judicial system is run today versus how it was run 75 years ago after World War II. And how come that we still have old laws on the books that does not justify anybody other than putting a lot of people either in jail or getting them in trouble? I've never seen a system that was so broken and so basically primitive. I almost said backwoods, but it actually goes beyond backwoods. It's primitive. It's in the dark ages as far as I'm concerned. That's kind of like the complications I'm having right now with my operation with the material, the hardware that they put in my leg pertaining to it being titanium. Come to find out, they've had a pattern, a massive pattern of people getting similar type operations, and basically their hardware does not correspond with their body, and their body basically rejects it. It's kind of like being allergic of something. How come somebody hasn't engineered other types of materials that I know for a fact in the car manufacturing industry, that we've got materials out there that are just as hard, if not harder, than titanium metals, that would be more acceptable with the body than titanium metals? How come somebody hadn't engineered something like that? Because anytime you can engineer a timing gear and put it in an automobile that's made out of basically fiberglass type fiber, and it actually outlasts a steel timing gear on another motor just like it, that tells me that the dynamics of the materials can be changed in a more suitable way. But yet, no, we've got doctors that want to get paid $1 million a year or more that claim that they've got all the answers to all the questions. And the fact of the matter is, they ain't got enough common sense to fight their way out of a paper sack, a lot of them. Out of a wet paper sack, a lot of them. Please listen to this.
Let me squeeze in a fact check on that lie you just heard about the judge's daughter making millions of dollars. The judge's daughter's never made $1 million. And so this is all part of the propaganda lie going on down there. But here's the most important thing that happened politically in America today, and it is an historic turn. The Republican Party has risen up boldly and bravely in defense of what they call adultery with porn stars, paying off the porn star secretly, altering your business records to cover up paying off the porn star secretly so that you might more successfully run for president. That is the position they took today. It'll be fascinating to see what their position is at their churches on Sunday about why they were at the porn star trial in another state where they don't live. But for them to be now the party that's completely and 100% in favor of sex of any kind with porn stars in any state of marriage you might be in, but totally opposed to any possible abortion option that might result from the Republican candidate having sex with a porn star. They have come down very solidly against that end of the whole story. They can't let the story end that way, but they will defend every other thing that Donald Trump did in that room with Stormy Daniels and everything he's done about it since.
I mean,
I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with the courts pertaining to everything. I know the reason why that they're thinking what they're thinking. When it comes to adult sex, that's basically the individual's business in who they have sex with, as many times as they have sex with, and in whatever format that they have sex in. Whenever it comes to abortion, you're basically attacking the innocence of life that don't have a choice other than what the adults choose for that embryo. So, why can't they understand that? I don't know. But let's listen to this.
that Donald Trump is the man that had the Miss Universe pageant. This, Rachel, the reason they were in the matching outfits, it's a swimsuit competition.
Yes.
It is the swimsuit competition for the Veeps.
Now keep in mind, from a religious perspective, both are wrong, depending upon if you're going beyond the borders of holy matrimony. I believe. That's just my personal belief, according to the teachings of the Lord Jesus Christ and the teachings of Moses, talking about a letter where two people bond together. And back then they didn't necessarily have ceremonies of marriage, but they did have ceremonies of commitment. But they also had a escape that if one got caught with the other one in an act of adultery, then that gave the other one the right to divorce from that person if he or she wanted to. That's not cut in stone. You don't have to divorce your companion because they was not faithful to you. That's up once more to the adult's decision in what he or she decides. These people are so mixed up and how they want to propagandalize and emphasize upon certain things towards it only looking in the direction that they're looking at it at is absolutely manipulating.
Veep stakes, and instead of swimsuits, they're wearing the same matching suits.
Absolutely.
And they all have their turn at the mic to say, you know, it's the interview portion where they're auditioning. And what I mean, I think you're absolutely right, Lawrence, to point out the shameless hypocrisy. Beyond that, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, second in line for the presidency, telling the country that the judicial system is a sham seems like a problem for this country, right? But again, I mean, I go back to Chris's point.
And in lots of ways, it is a sham. In lots of ways, it is a sham, especially whenever it comes to somebody having money that can hire the right attorney, and the next thing you know, the court or the judge just basically pats them on the back or slaps them on the back of the hand until the next time that they come in. It's like a rotating door. In, out, in, out. But now, if you're the wrong person and you don't have the money to buy the right attorney, you're doomed. You're absolutely doomed. And that is what our justice system is based off of, is somebody that can afford good legal counsel versus somebody that can't. It is broken. It does need to be reformed. And the people can see it. Regardless whether it's the people on the side of the Republicans or the side of the Democrats, This is where we, the people, are going to have to step up to the plate and say, you know what? We deserve better than this. Going over the same old, expecting different results according to Alcohol Anonymous and Narcotic Anonymous is a sign of insanity. In thinking that you can do the exact same thing again and again and expecting different results. So maybe we have reached a pivotal point in America to the degree that maybe they have been given over to a reprobate mind to believe a lie and to be damned, pertaining to them being a bunch of reprobates. I don't know. I've never seen our country in this shape before, and it really, really bothers me. Please listen. Please listen.
Literally have the cautionary tale. Michael Cohen sitting on the stand telling them what it's like to cash out in the moral bankruptcy court, and it makes no difference.
And the last thing on this, just to say this quickly, which is that there's also there's something comedic about it and pathetic. I mean, deeply pathetic. Pathetic in a way that I actually find it almost breaks my ability to mentally model what they're doing. I really feel like if someone asked me to do this kind of thing, there's nothing you could offer me that would make me desire to humiliate myself in that way, honestly. And that's just pure vanity. It's not some like ethical objection.
But it is kind of ethical.
Well, it's ethical, but it's also just like it's so pathetic. But it also has something really menacing about it. It's this: they're trying to shoot the moon. They're making a high leverage bet. And that's the higher leverage bet Michael Cohen made, which is I could be the counsel of the President of the United States and I can make $4 million afterwards, and I can be adjacent to power, and I can have people do what I want them to do. They're making a very high leverage bet that they can be adjacent to power, and they can be adjacent to a particularly unconstrained kinds of power that is worth the self-abnegation that is on display in the swing set competition on 100 Center Street. Rachel.
I would, yes. And I would also say, just as a last point here, that the rule of law is a concept, but it is also a really specific thing. And to have, to your point, Alex, to have the Speaker of the House there saying, don't listen to this witness, and this prosecution is a sham, and this is a politically motivated proceeding, and this court proceeding is a joke and shouldn't be paid attention to. The rule of law is a specific thing. It is a concrete process where there are people who work in the court system, and they have families, and there are people who have to serve as witnesses and jurors in the system. To have every leading light in the Republican Party lining up and saying our judicial system doesn't count, and our judicial system is a joke, and our judicial system is just stacked against you and me, and we should disparage it here. This is an important moment for the rule of law in the United States of America, because this is not Donald Trump inveighing against the judicial system, which is holding him to account. This is the Republican Party, one of the two governing parties of the United States, lining up and in unison saying our court system effectively ought to be dismantled.
And I've been saying that now for the past, 10 years? Ever since my brother and I put up the broken cross out here? Is he just now coming to people? Pertaining to our laws, it's not working? I've never seen it like it is right now. It's actually very, very scary, because we're opening up ourselves to the very thing that the Bible talks about pertaining to the wrath of God. And if that's what people want, well then let them continue to stay on this track that they're on, hoping for the best, expecting the worst, and I guarantee you the worst is going to happen. Regardless whether it's economically, regardless whether it's environmentally, regardless whether it's morally, pertaining to our values that we expect for one another and treat one another by, it's only going to get worse.
dismantled. And this is a crucial moment for us as a democracy, as ridiculous as this seems. But we're going to look back on this time as a much more serious moment than when Kevin McCarthy went to Mar-a-Lago after January 6th and kissed the ring. We're going to look at all of these Republican politicians showing up at the courthouse and denouncing the judicial branch of government as a crucial moment in the fall of American democracy.
You have to admit, after January the 6th, something obviously has rattled the people to have caused such an uproar at the Capitol. You have to admit that. There's no other way to discard that. And for them to basically get on national TV and either joke about it or make fun of it, mock it in some sort of way, I kind of find it to be unprofessional in them.
Proceeds to another Trump presidency. This is going to be a landmark thing, as stupid as it feels in the moment.
And one of the great losses of not being able to televise this trial in a New York State court is that America cannot see how completely fair it is. Donald Trump's lawyers get half of their objections sustained, half of their objections overruled. If we were televising this, if America could see every ruling that Judge Merchan made, if they could see what you described, Chris, as his fairness and how full that fairness is constantly, you could then say to these people, tell me which one of the judge's rulings you disagreed with today. Which objection do you think he should not have sustained? And there's no capacity to do that because we are not televising this, and America is not seeing just how purely fair this trial actually is.
Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, thank you so much for being with us. We will see you in a little bit, Lauren.
It may not be televised right now live, but I guarantee you in that courtroom, the court has their own recording system. And every word, every movement, every person is being recorded. Which means one day, who knows, somebody's liable to take that material and use it for some sort of propaganda scheme or use it for their own Hollywood Days of Our Lives or whatever. Reality shows.
In a little bit, Lawrence. We're going to dive into the legal strategy behind what we heard today and how it might all play out. That's next.
Once more, whenever you tell half-truths, you're basically not telling the whole truth. And if you're not telling the whole truth, you're basically telling a lie.
Proven automatic leg mover.
The defense aimed to make one thing very clear. Michael Cohen has been allegedly obsessed with Donald Trump even since before he became president. Here's defense attorney Todd Blanche. You were actually obsessed with President Trump, weren't you? Cohen, I don't know if I would characterize the word obsessed. I admired him tremendously. Blanche. In Disloyal, that would be Cohen's first book, you describe your feeling for President Trump as being obsessed. Correct? Cohen. Correct. Blanche. But your obsession for you admired him even before you started working for him, correct? Cohen. That's correct. Joining us now are Lisa Rubin, MSNBC legal correspondent.
So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I mean, I don't get it.
Who was inside that courthouse today, and Charles Coleman, former New York prosecutor, now a criminal defense and civil rights attorney. Thank you. It's very good to have some legal minds weigh in on this. And Lisa, let me start with you. The idea that Michael Cohen was effectively like a single white female-like character in Trumpland, is the point of that from a defense point of view to suggest that Cohen might have acted on his own to make the Stormy Daniels problem go away for Trump?
Yes.
Did they do that?
No. I'm being cross-examined now. See, I'm answering the questions squarely before me. No, I don't think they did, Alex. I think they're trying to both show he was motivated to do it alone, and he was so obsessed with Trump that having been spurned by him, he is engaging in a scorched earth strategy to make the man's life miserable in a way that's undeserving of whatever Trump has done that could be criminally charged. And I don't think they succeeded. I wrote down after reading the cross-examination, all the different themes that they floated
Yeah.
today, and not a single one of them was a winner, at least today on this cross. He's media hungry, but he was before too. He's wealthy, yes. He was before too. He wouldn't take direction from the DA in terms of shutting up about the case. Okay, but does that make him not credible? He was a leaker. They insinuated that he was leaking information to the press, and they never got anywhere with that. So unless they can establish that that actually happened and that he was destructive to the DA's case, I'm not sure where that goes. He's an incentivized witness because he dislikes Trump. He's also a person who was the only person who served jail time for crimes related to the ones that are being charged. And he was sent back to prison retributively during COVID after he was released on home confinement. If he has an axe to grind, it's a deserved one. He has a binder. Woo! The DA's office gave him a binder with his plea allocution in it. That's supposed to make him somehow biased. No, that's to refresh his recollection about things solely within his knowledge. And then the final one is that he messed with his phones before he gave them to the DA's office. The insinuation is the FBI returned them to him in 2020. The DA's office didn't ask for them until 2023. And the insinuation is either Cohen or a man named Jeremy Rosenberg, who was an investigator in the DA's office.
Before you take your phone and send it to whoever your carrier is, because you're having trouble either with the phone itself or you have a busted screen, they recommend for you to take your phone and basically clear everything on there. It don't matter if it's from emails, it don't matter if it's pictures, it don't matter if it's from YouTube. They want you to basically clear that phone out. That way, whenever that phone gets sent to them, there won't be no scary technique towards trying to breach your privacy. So once more, what's so big about the phone? What's so big about somebody tampering with their phone?
Somehow messed with the phones so as to edit that September 6th, 2016 phone call through which Trump makes the most damning admissions in the case.
Charles.
I rest.
So, the defensive strategy here is that they have no strategy. And what I mean by that is they do not have strong facts. This is clear. We all knew this going in. And so, in order to try and get to the point of a hung jury or a mistrial, your strategy is...
So this is more of a he said, she said, big court appearance towards taking up all this TV time and costing probably hundreds of millions of dollars off of a he said, she said. I don't go along with the fact that they're taking something that happened years and years ago out of context pertaining to statute of limitations. Because if everybody that has been criminalized, victimized, whatever, vice versa, either or, if they wanted to take that to court and make a big deal out of it, make a big stink out of it, do you realize how tied up that our courts would be right now? And how chaotic that would be? That's why our lawmakers put stipulations pertaining to statute of limitations, as far as how far back can you go whenever you are actually going to try to persecute somebody for the crime. I think that in and of itself is a sham. Now, I ain't trying to speak up for Donald Trump. I'm speaking up for justice of the fact that basically you got a judicial system that is breaking its own laws from that perspective. I just have never seen anything like this.
Strategy is confusion and misdirection. And that's everything that they've been doing with respect to the different legal theories that they have tried to float. Now, I have been one as an attorney who is loath to critique and criticize other attorneys in terms of how they try cases. But we are at the point where I can honestly say that Todd Blanche may be in over his head because this is state court. And I want to point that out. He has spent a lot of his career as a federal prosecutor. That is very different than being a criminal defense attorney in state court, primarily because as a federal prosecutor, you do not try many cases. You settle cases a lot. And in the cases that you actually try, many of the defendants do not testify. So quite frankly, you are not as used to cross-examination as you would be if you were an attorney who practices in state court. That's the value of what we're talking about. So I think that in terms of Donald Trump...
But in a sense, that's also the corruption that we're talking about, because it's left up to the prosecutor of whether or not he wants to give this person basically a free ride, or whether or not he wants to basically give this person the third degree because he or she stepped on a wooden nickel. That's the part that makes it so corrupt. Plus, we're out of date on a great deal of our laws. And I could go over probably at least 100 of them that I feel like are outdated in some reality form or another.
Donald Trump's federal cases, he might be the guy. But in this situation right now, I feel like Nicholas would have been a much better choice to conduct this cross-examination.
Can I ask just? I mean, I don't just want to over-determine this because I watched this. You know, I was there in the courthouse in the overflow room during cross. I find myself having a hard time following it, but also I'm not the median juror, right? So the one thing that was clear to me and did seem effective is Cohen seemed shifty. I mean, he did. He was taking sips of water. He basically seemed like he was, I would describe him as squirrely, right? And you know, confronted with things that he had in the past, there were moments where you felt like he was reluctantly maybe getting to the truth, but not particularly like forthcoming. Does that add up to them eviscerating any of the core facts? No. Does it, to my mind, defeat the burden or get at the burden? No. But I'm just curious what you thought as someone who's also watching it, like how much that matters, whether that's enough to get you where you need to go.
I actually thought Cohen's worst moment of the day was on direct, but I don't know how many people appreciated it. At the civil fraud trial where Cohen testified, he was asked about the plea he took before Judge Pauley in the Southern District, and he has insisted since then that actually while he pled guilty to tax evasion, he didn't really commit the crime. And he was asked by Alina Habba, basically, were you lying then or are you lying now? And he said squarely on the stand there, I was lying.
Yes.
When asked to explain that testimony today, on the other hand, Cohen gave him a very different answer. And he basically said, well, I'm not contesting the facts, but I didn't like the process. That's not going to play well on cross with a well-prepped cross-examiner.
Correct. But Chris, to your point, ultimately, I think a lot of that depends on the characterization that the prosecution tries to put forward about him on summation. Are you going to try and sell Michael Cohen as this sort of reform guy who really stood up for country and liberty and freedom and truth and justice? Or are you going to say, look, this was a guy who was in cahoots with Donald Trump. He's kind of a guy who may have been a little bit of a schlep, and now he's finally figured it out that this was not to his benefit, and he changed his tune. That's really where it all comes into play. I think that where he ended on cross-exam on direct, he kind of had this sort of like, strong stance, and I think the defense making him look shifty may have sort of served to undercut that.
We have a lot more to discuss as far as this legal strategy. Charles Coleman, thank you as always, my friend.
That's just a matter of confidence. He's probably, you can be overconfident just as much as you can be underconfident. To some degree, if he's going through what he's going through right now, and he gets a second guessing himself, the next thing you know, he will look antsy. He will look worrisome. He will look not as confident. And to be quite frank with you, I think that that's a very common human emotion under the pretense of what is going on right now in regards to all this. I think that's a normal reaction myself. Once more, why are they emphasizing on stuff like this? Why are they emphasizing on somebody that wants to tamper with the phone? Why are they emphasizing on other matters the way that they're emphasizing upon? I don't know. The bottom line is the system is broken. The judicial system is broken, and until we, the people, decide that we're going to fix it, it's going to remain broken. That's the bottom line. And I could go on and on and on with so many different examples that it's not even funny. Good luck to all of us. God bless America, and God bless our troops. Shalom.